Hey, I just got the ATX MPHR 780 and today I'm going to do an unboxing and assembly video to show you how to put it together. Hey, this is Greg with Discovering Strength, a channel focused on all things garage gym. If you like what you see, consider subscribing below. All right, so I just got the brand new MPHR 780 rack/cable machine from ATX. I'm super excited about it. I've seen a lot of great things about this company, and it just so happens that I live in Germany, and this is a German company that is just about to expand and start releasing these products in the US. And so I was very fortunate to be able to purchase from them locally here, and I'm excited to put this thing together and show you what it looks like. So let's take a look. All right, so here it is, the ATX MPHR 780. Just comes in one crate like this. That's kind of impressive. I thought it would be in a few different boxes. It looks like they've packaged it very nicely. Looks super secure. Excited just from the boxing here. So let's go ahead and crack it open. All right, just open the box and it looks nicely packaged inside here. Super excited to get this stuff out. All right, so got everything up into the gym. Not gonna lie, that was a lot of work. It took me a solid 2 hours. Just so happens that I live on a hill with a bunch of stairs, so that was what said on the shipping label was about 1,700 pounds total. These items right here, these are the weight plates for the weight stack, and they look small, but those are heavy. That's about 500 pounds right there. But super excited now. Everything looks in top condition. Really excited about it. Lots of pulleys. So I got everything spread out around here. Like the look of the stainless steel, or I don't know if that's chrome, but super nice with the laser cut numbers. You can go ahead and start assembling. All right, so as I get started here, it does come with what looks like a pretty extensive owner's manual that has step-by-step instructions for assembly. However, I'm already seeing as you flip through here that it's going to be kind of difficult going step by step. So hopefully this video can help you navigate all the hardware, what you need for each step. You can see here that it comes with 7 sheets of hardware, but it's not organized by step. All right, so doing step 1 here, we're going to attach the uprights to this back piece, and for the hardware, so the one at the bottom is going to be the longer M20 by 110. The one on the top is going to be M20 by 100. All right, and so the top hole on this one here is going to line up with hole number 4. All right, so you can see on the bottom, if you can, that one does have the locking washer. So you get the locking washer and then the actual washer. Up on the top, it's just a washer washer and a nut. And then same thing on the bottom. This bottom one just screws into this piece. And a note on orientation of these rear uprights. You want to make sure that the feet are facing away. Now moving on to step 2, you're going to be attaching these 2 pieces to the bottom. Just take note of the orientation. So you want to make sure that you've got this little pad here on the back side. That should be closest to the rack. And then that would mean that one of the pulleys is going to be furthest away. All right, so for this step, you're essentially going to duplicate what we did on the last step. You're going to have the long bolt and a short one. The short one again goes on top, the longer one on the bottom. And in terms of holes, you're going to again be using 4 for the top and then 1 for the bottom. And then same thing with the washers and the locking washers. So the locking washers go on the bottom, just regular washers for the top. All right, so I got those attached, and one thing I'll note is in the instructions, it actually says to not tighten the bolts all the way. In this step, it says you're going to come back to it in a later step to tighten everything up. The last part of this is we're going to connect this little pulley piece onto this bottom part. So you can see you got to identify the right piece. One of the things, there are a number of these that kind of look similar, but this one has 2 holes here on this end. So look for that piece. And you'll put 1 on either side. The orientation is you're going from the side underneath, so the pulley will be right under there, and it looks like it may connect to that cable. For this, you're going to be using 2 of the shorter M20 by 100s on both sides. You're just going to be using normal washers, 1 on the inside, 1 on the outside, and a locking nut. All right, so now moving on to step 2, we're going to attach the front uprights, and this is going to look very familiar. It's really the same as the rear uprights. So you're using the shorter one on the top, longer one on the bottom, using the locking washer on the bottom, and then on the top you're going to be using a locking nut and washer. So quick note on orientation of those uprights. So the numbers are not going to be on the outside. They're going to be on the inside. And you'll see that these come with these things already attached. So the handle is going to be on the inside. Moving on to step 3. This looks like we're going to attach some of the pulley mechanisms. So first I'm going to attach these articulating arms that go on the outside of the rack. And looking at that, it looks like all the hardware is already there. So it comes with the bolts already in place. So I think I'm going to have to take those off. And then it looks to me that these are interchangeable, but the handle there should be at the bottom. So then just like that, you'll pop it on there. So a note here was that yes, you have to take the bolts off to be able to put this on, but to be able to get the bolt in there, you're gonna have to move this pulley. So I had to remove the pulley, then I could get the bolt in there and get it in place, and then put the pulley back on. And as a note, it does say here for this step to tighten everything 100%. All right, for the next step of this, we're gonna be attaching these pulleys onto the bottom in the back. And for that, just a note on orientation, you're going to want to connect them so that the slanted section is on the outside, and then likewise on the other side, the slanted section will be facing the outside. And for these, looking at the diagram, you're going to count 3 holes in, and then you'll attach from there. Same for the other side. For the hardware, you're going to be using the shorter M20 by 100s, and then just washers on either side with the locking nuts. Moving on to step 4, then we are going to be attaching these 3 different pieces, as you can see there. I'm going to start by attaching this top piece in the back. That's got the ATX logo on it. And for that, I'm going to be using the longer bolts. So these are the M20 by 110. And this one, they'll screw right into the logo piece that I'm going to be putting up. And just use washers and locking washers. So got that up there, but as you can see, this is really a 2-man job. I was able to, get it up there myself, but it was very precarious. Now the next step is to put this piece right there onto the back, like midway down. So you can see on that diagram where it is. And just counting the holes over here in the diagram. From the bolt here at the bottom, you count up 16 holes, and then it's just above that 16th hole. You're going to want to identify the right piece. So this is the one right here. You can tell by having this end piece like this with the 2 holes. And for this one, we're going to use the shorter bolts. So these are the M20s by 100. And just like we've been doing before, on the outside, you'll pop the bolts in with a washer. On the inside then, you'll have a washer and a locking nut. All right, so I got that attached. I'm keeping the bolts loose. And if I had to do this again, I would put this piece on first and then do the top one. Having the top one on there, even though I loosened it up, made it very difficult to get this piece into place. All right, then lastly, we're going to connect this piece right here. It's just got 1 hole in the end. So I've been able to find that one right here. And you got to distinguish it from these other ones. They have 2 holes in the end. Then you're going to put it up with this lip on the bottom facing down. And then just like the back logo piece, this one is threaded in the middle. So you're just going to use the longer bolts, the 110s, with a locking washer and a washer. All right, step 5, we are going to be putting the Smith machine safeties in place. So we will be putting these 2 in place, okay? And they are going to go in. You can see the large hole here. I think that's where the rail for the Smith machine will go. And then right here are the 2 holes we'll use to bolt these in. And for this one, we are using the longer M20 by 110s, again with the locking washer and regular washer. So I got both of those in place. And one thing I will say is I discovered that on this piece here, only one side is not threaded. So you want the non-threaded side to be down, And because on the bottom you have threads to be able to screw this in, at the top you need to have the threaded piece. On to step 6, and there I'm starting with adding the Smith machine rod and the barbell. So here I got tripped up for a while because in this diagram it shows these rubber pads that are going to go on there, and there are 3 of them. Well, the ones at the bottom here that go on the rod before you have your barbell on there, those are a larger size, slightly larger. There is another one that looks identical, but it is slightly smaller, okay? So the only way I could tell which was by actually putting it on the guide rod. Let me show you here. You get your guide rod, right? And at the top, you can just take off some of this plastic. You see which one will go on. This is slightly smaller. It will not go on the rod, okay? The one that's slightly bigger will go around the rod. All right, so this one is tricky, but this little piece here at the bottom, that is already on the rack. So you're going to need 2 of the rubber pads, the ones that will go on the rod, and then you'll need this piece right here. You got 2 of those, and then I think last I'm gonna try to put the barbell up on over the rod, and then put this little piece. It will actually be up at the top of the rod. And once it's in place, that's how it looks. Then these safeties, can come up and just sit on the peg. Hardware you're using for this, it was over here in hardware number 4. It was the M10 by 20s. Those are the bolts you're using, along with some locking washers that were over here and regular washers. Next, I'm going to put the Smith machine barbell. I have it over here in my barbell holder, but I'm going to put this in place. Just put it on from the top along the rail. So this step was really difficult, especially with one person. Luckily, I was able to get my son to come help me, but really hard to line all those pieces up right here to then be able to put the rod in place and connect it at the bottom. My suggestion is you need 2 people to be able to do it, and then to put the rod first into the barbell sleeve here, and then from there have the other person kind of hold the rail as you lift it up and line these things up. Then the next step in step 6 is to put these cross members on the top. It looks like you're going to be using the same longer bolts with the locking washers and regular washers, and it looks like that is going to be the same for all of it. And the other piece I failed to mention was you'll use the same screws up at the top to connect the safety post for the Smith machine. Step 7 is building this kind of cable contraption that goes on top of the rack. You can see I made one already, and it's up there on the top. Okay, for this one, you are going to use 3 of the largest pulleys. And then for hardware, you're using these M10 by 95s. and also M8 by 95s. It's not well identified on here, but you can see on the diagram, they're slightly smaller on there. They're labeled as the same number, but this is the M8, okay? The other ones are the M10s, and those are the ones that are gonna go through your pulleys. These M8s are gonna go through here at the top, and they're just basically kind of spacers. So go ahead and put this together, and then I'll show you how to attach it to the rack. You can see how I have put this together. I've got the 3 pulleys in there, and then also the 2 MA bolts just as spacers. Note that you want to keep all those bolts loose for the next step. But you can see the orientation. One of these is longer than the other, and that's by design. This is all then going to go up on top of the rack. You can see up on the front side, you have a ATX plate here that goes on the front. So you put that in place. Like I said, this whole thing is going to go up on top of this upright up here. And you'll want to note the orientation. The shorter side should be on the inside, and on the outside you have the longer section. And then we're going to sit it up there, and then we're going to bolt it on. But you can see on the inside we're also going to bolt on this other cable pulley, and then we're also going to add another smaller pulley on the inside there. So I just put this up on top of the upright. You'll see with the bolts loose, it can go right over that cross member there. But you'll note that the holes are not lining up. So this is where it would be handy to have a second person for sure. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get one bolt in place right back over here, and then try to get a bolt over there in place, and then I'll be able to do the rest. So you can see here I got it in place, and just in terms of placement, you're going to leave these 2 open. We're going to attach that pulley here in just a minute. You're going to bolt it on right there, this middle one, and then one more right there. These are the M20 by 110s. And now we're going to go ahead and bolt on this other pulley here in the back, and then we'll add a pulley right down here. All right, and this is the pulley you're going to be attaching. So it's got the 2 holes at the bottom, and it'll end up attaching just like so. So you put it up there just like that, and we'll bolt it on. Now we're going to attach this smallest pulley we have. You see these holes here, it's going to go that hole, and it will be attached just like so. This other one is for a spacer. So we're going to be using this M10 by 95, just like we did before, with these right here and the locking nut. Step 8 is going to be attaching these supports for the cables up on the top middle. So first I'll show you, I already attached one, but here on the outside you're going to use the M20 by 100s, both right here and in the back, and we'll just go to that point. Just keep in mind that you need to count in 6 holes, and you're going to start there on the 7th hole. Then next, we are going to attach this pulley support. You can look at the bottom, it's got the 2 holes, 1 hole in the bottom. You're going to count 2 holes in, 1, 2, you're going to start on the 3rd. If you look underneath, there is a hole for that hole in the bottom. So you'll attach it on the outside on either side. Now attaching it on the outside, we're going to be using the longer M20 by 110 for this. And then we're using an M10 by 90 for the hole in the bottom. All right, and the finished product is going to look like that. And that last M10 bolt, you'll start it from the top up there and then put the nut on the bottom. And right there, it does say that at this point, once we've completed this step, that we should go back and tighten all the bolts on the rack. So anything you were leaving loose, go ahead and tighten it down. So here we are on step 9. And in this step, we're going to be attaching the guide rails along with the weight plate stack. Here, we're going to first put the little rubber pads in place. Well, you can actually put them around the bottom of the guide rails. Put them in place. You're gonna need 2 people to be able to do this. I've already done 1, but then you will 1 by 1 over the top put each of the plates in place, and then the last item you're going to put in place is going to be this piece. So these rubber pads are these ones right here. These are the smaller diameter ones. And then of course your boxes of plates, you'll put those on. This is the other piece. This one is going to go on last, and you're going to put it on. This portion is going to go down. So it will go on like that through all the weight plates you put in place, and then the pulley will eventually attach to the top part. Once you have all of the plates on the guide rail and you've put this piece in place, then you're going to take this little metal connector, which is this one right here. It's going to go up at the top, and then you're going to use the M10 by 25. Those are the hex bolts and M10 washers. You'll just connect that right in the top. All right, so this is the finished product from that step. You should have 22 plates total on each side. That's counting the one that's attached to the rail here. So it'd be 21 of the plates plus that other attachment, making 22. And looking up here at the top, just a note here. So you've got those 2 M10 by 25s. You're going to connect there. And then you have this small little hex bolt that's in there. And the instructions say just to not over tighten that because it can strip. And I think the intent of that is just to keep this rail from moving. So on step 10, we are running the cables on the top section on both sides. So you can see the diagram there, actually a pretty good diagram here as well to see the routing. But I'll point out how I've routed it. I've done one side, I'll show you the second side. And also to route the cables, like right there it says you can take off the end, and I definitely recommend that. That would be the easiest. And you can see in there, it's got a hex bolt in there, and that coincides with the smallest Allen wrench that they give you. So you just take that out, the end portion comes off, and then you can just feed it through. You have 4 cables that come in the package. The 2 longest cables are the ones that are going to run along the top. and the shorter cables are going to run along the bottom. Okay, so another important note that I couldn't see in any of the instructions was that before you attach this right here, you're going to want to put this little clip in place, okay? Because this thing has to go around this. If you've already got the cable in here, then you can't actually unscrew this to be able to take that out and pop this whole thing on. So make sure you put this on before you attach this pulley. All right, so I'll show you how I've routed it here. I started routing in the middle upright up here. So I just fed it through, goes from that one to the back side over there. Give you a closer look. See how it's got to go around the outside, and then that goes in like that and down from there, and then it feeds right through that hole, and the cable will go on the inside of the two guide rails, and then you'll need to attach this pulley. It just screws right in at the bottom here, and then you'll run it through the bottom of this pulley, and then again up, and then right through that bottom hole there, and then it will go up and around that pulley, and then on the inside there, it goes around that one, around this small pulley here, and then you feed it down, and this is where you'll need to take this additional 2 pulleys, and you loop it through the top one, loop it down and around, and then back up through this slot here. Can't see it very well, but there's a slot here that goes up top, then around that pulley, and then that runs along the top, then along the top to this pulley in the front. It'll go up and around the pulley in between this faceplate here, then down to this small pulley inside this arm here, goes down inside, and then you can see how it goes right in there, and then through the middle of these two, and then it will end right there. And then from there, you'll just need to put this end piece back on, and you've got it. So I'm gonna go ahead and run my second cable through the other side. So on to step 11. And in this step, you're going to be routing the cables on the bottom side. And starting out here, one of the things I noticed, I already ran it on one side, is that you have to attach another pulley. So I would go ahead and do that step first. Attach the pulley, and the pieces you're going to be using is, you got 2 of these pulley wheels. You should still have, you've got this little cover. You got a spacer. It's a big spacer, it looks like that. Then you've got 2 of these. These are M10 by 125. Then you got M10 locking nut with a spacer, and then you have what they call a big washer. Then, like it says here in the diagram, you're going to use that M10 by 125 with a washer on the outside of that piece. Connect through, use the spacer going through the tube, and on the outside, on the back side, it's going to be the large washer and the locking nut. And this is how it looks. So this is on that side, And counting the holes from the corner, you're going to count in to the 7th hole. And then the way I routed it was I started from this end. This is the end that doesn't have the ball on the end. This one is going to end up getting connected to this right here, but I wouldn't connect it right now. I'd leave it loose, but start routing with this portion. So you'll take off the ball just like on the previous step, and you'll start routing it from this position on through. So just taking you through the route, it starts up here. You go down through the hole at the bottom there. It goes around the pulley down there. And there's a pulley right here. It's going to go around that side and then up through this hole. That's going to then go up around this middle one, go up in the middle and back down. Then you come back down to the other hole, and then that will go down below this pulley here. And then it's going to go to this corner pulley, go around the corner there, and then run it through the new pulley you just installed. And then that will run up in between these two here, and that's the route. On to step 12, and that is to attach the pull-up bars. So that's just using the M20 by 100s with washers on both sides and locking nuts. All right, so that is how it looks. They just sit right in there, and the holes will line up. Then step 13 is just attaching the weight plate holders. For that, you just get the weight plate holders, you attach it with the M20 by 100 with a locking washer and a regular washer. And it does come with 4 for each side. I, however, don't have quite enough room on this one side, so I'm not going to be able to put all of them up. All right, so the last few steps I just powered through. So step 13 is to attach the leg plate to the bottom. So that comes in one unit. I'll show you how it looks when it's connected. Goes down there just like so. You end up connecting it with 2 M20 by 100s with a spacer or with washers on both sides. All right, step 14 is simply just being able to attach the leg holder for doing lat pull downs. And that one's just a separate accessory. So I've got it over here in the corner. There's really nothing to this step. And step 15 is to put all the other odds and ends on. You've got your safety spotters, which you can store on the back cross member there. And you've got your J-hooks. I just already had them up there on the uprights. And then also it has you oil the guide rods for the weight stacks. So I just added ample lubricant on there that was provided. Also in this step, I added all the numbering for the weight stack. And that is it. That was a beast to assemble for sure. All right, so that took me, I would say, probably 16 hours over 2 days to assemble. And I made many mistakes along the way that you didn't see. So hopefully this video is of help to those that are putting it together and hopefully can cut down on that assembly time for you. All right, so that does it for the assembly of this unit. Let me know in the comments below if you run into any issues, got any questions. I'm happy to field those questions, and we'll see you next time.